Hi, I'm Tom Stephenson. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to MS Project, the course. I'm a professor of construction management, and in this video, which is being built upon many other videos behind it, we're going to talk about the updating and recovery process. I'm currently teaching a course with my students and I'm getting a lot of questions on what's the difference between an update and a recovery, and what does it look like? And so I'm going to try to do some fairly quick updates and recoveries just so you see the process there without spending as much detailed time as I did in the earlier videos. I will provide links to the earlier videos below, but you can also look at MS Project, the course, on my playlist, where I actually in the descriptions have files that you can download to help you follow along if you wish, or you can just passively sort of watch and take it all in. Okay, so we are basically now, we've got a file. I've already saved it as a baseline, but I'll just go over that. I'll go File, Save As, this PC. I've called the folder New Township Project. And so basically I just saved it as baseline. All right, so I just saved it as baseline. I've got a 0 in front of that, and I got the job number, baseline, and I've got the date. And I talk about having standard operating procedures with my students. So this is kind of like a file naming protocol that if you follow it, then you'll have a listing of where your project was at specific moments in time, which would be your update dates, the dates that you update the project to. And you can understand if your project is like 14 months long, well then the 0 is the baseline. The first update we do, I'm going to put a 1 in front of it. The second update we do, I'll put a 2. And that will be just saying this is the second, the third update. And each one will have a date for when that's occurring. I'll also have different naming for between an update file and a recovery file. So you'll see how that sort of plays out. So let's try that. All right, I'm just going to cancel this out seeing I've already saved it. And I'll just go back here. I'm just going to click Save just again so we know where we're at. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this to a status date. I've written a few status dates down here so we can just quickly run through this. And I'm going to go into my project information, and I'm going to select status date. And remember, status date is the date you're updating the project to. So I'm going to select in 2025. So I'm going to go into 2025 and I'm going to put March 6th. And that's my status date, 2025, March 6th. Click OK. All right. I'd like to see the status date. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to go to grid lines. So I just right click in this blank area, grid lines, and then I'm going to scroll down to status date. I'm going to pick a solid line. Pick the color red. All right, so it was already there because I think I'd done it something before. Usually it's not the case. And I'm going to click OK. And now you see where the status date line is. So that's where that is. Actually, I've got to double check because I'm not certain that I've actually, let's just do here. I think I have to reset the baseline because I think I deleted it previous. So let's go here and I'm going to go to Project, Set Baseline. Set baseline, all right? Because there's no point doing an update if I don't have the baseline set, all right? So I'm going to click OK. Here, this is my baseline file, so I'm going to click OK. I don't care if I've got this sort of status date in here because it's not doing anything yet. So I'm going to click OK. You'll see how I get around that in a second. Set baseline for the entire project. Click OK. And once I've done that, I should be able to, if I go click on this square icon box, right click, go to my variance screen, I should see that this is all populated. If you see NA here, it means you have not set the baseline. The other way you know you've set the baseline is if you go set baseline, it'll tell you when you last saved it. Otherwise, it's just blank there. All right, so we're good. We've got the baseline set. So now I'm going to save this as a update file. Before I go any further, now that we've got basically the baseline set in this file, I'm just going to go File, Save As. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to change the name here to 1. That's the first update that we're doing. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to say Update. And I'm going to say March 6th. Click Save. All right, so we've done the first update, saving of the file name, but we haven't done the update yet. And I just want to be clear that when we're updating the file, and I'm going to go to the Format tab here, Drawing Tools, what we're doing is we're just updating between the start date and the status date. We're trying to figure out what's going on and where we're at, right? And so what happened here, we're going to say that we didn't quite get this started when we wanted to. So to basically update, you go into the actual tracking view, right? And we thought we were going to start this, get that permit submitted by January 13th. And we know from what the feedback of the building department is, it takes basically 40 working days. So I'm going to basically say, well, something actually, I'll go to 2025 here and January, and I'm going to say that we didn't get this in till January 15th. Okay? And it's probably one of those things we don't have a lot of control over, the building department. So let's just take a look at this, and we're going to go to our click my square icon, go to variance, and we can see that this is actually causing us a 2-day variance, 2-day delay. All right, we can see it a little bit clearer actually if I slide to the left. I go to my tracking Gantt. All right, so I'm going to go to my tracking Gantt right here, slide to the left, right click your mouse all the way to the left, and you can see the bottom bar represents the baseline and the top bar here. So you can see if I zoom in a little bit where you can see it by day, all right, and I zoom in a little bit where you can see it by day, you can see that we started 2 days late. All right, and going back to my variance screen here, that's where half the battle is, knowing which screen you're in, right? I can see if I pull this to the right, I can see that, oh, our start variance was 2 days and our finish variance is 2 days. And that's transmitted through the whole project because that's on the critical path. Okay, so we can see that that is going on. I'm just going to shrink this down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Very often, so I double click on the timeline. I like to shrink it down. And usually maybe around 55. Okay, I can see more weeks that way. All right, so I can sort of see in one screen here what's going on. Okay, now I'm in the tracking Gantt, so I need to put in that status date line again. So I'm going to basically right click in that blank area, and I'm going to pull this down to status date. I'm going to say show me a status date line, make sure it's red. Click OK. Okay, so there's where the status date. I'm updating now to the status date. So quite simply, what I would do now to finish this update, and remember with the update, and I'm in the tracking Gantt now, so I'll draw that arrow again. We are looking from the status date back to the previous update. Well, there is no previous update in this case, so we're looking from the status date back to the beginning of the project. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to the Task tab, and I'm going to say it is basically mark on track up to that point. All right, so I'm going to just click mark on track up to that point. The nice thing about mark on track is it will only mark on track things to the left of the status date. It won't mark anything past that because that's like where you said you're updating to, right? And I've already did my adjustment here, so everything was where I want it to be. So I just select everything, mark on track, and it's done. All right, so I can see by the darkness here what's up to date, and I can also see I'm not on track, right? So at that point, I have done that update. So I'm just going to click Save, and now I'm going to go File, Save As. All right, I'm going to go, again, this PC, New Township Project, and I am going to change one word here, because now we need to do a recovery, because we're 2 days behind. So I'm just going to do recovery. And I'm going to basically click that, and I'm going to click Save. So at this point now, I'm going to perform a recovery. That was the update. So this is what I want to be clear on, because this is where I'm having some issues with some of my students. There's like, well, what's the difference between the update and recovery? Well, the update was historical. This is what's done. And I'm not going to get into the reasons and how we put that in this one. I've done it in previous ones, and I'll probably do it in future ones. But in this particular case, I just want to do a series of updates. We'd figure out what got us to this position. We'd want to know and understand why we're 2 days behind, right? Maybe it was a design change at the last minute, something like that. And I'd put a note in that case. That would be the update done, all right? So now what we would do, I'll just get rid of this here. Now what we would do is we shift our viewpoint. We shift our viewpoint because now we're doing a recovery, all right? And so with the recovery, I'm going to use that drawing tool again. We're going to go from here and we're looking forward. So update is historical. What happened? Recovery is future. What are we going to change so that we can get ourselves back on track? Or can we get ourselves back on track? If we can't, then we're going to try to get an extension to the contract. We're basically making these adjustments and pivots. Or maybe we're just trying to realign our workforce for all of the schedule changes that we need to adjust as a result and see where things are going and what we can do about it. So the recovery is looking forward, right? And in that case, I just want to look along the critical path. Where can I save time? Well, everything in this short amount here, because we're at the start of the project, is pretty much on the critical. Later, we've got a lot of things that have float and different things going on. But right now in the early stages, it looks like most things are critical. So we're going to look along the critical path for where we can fix things. And I usually like to insert the duration column in my updating screen and in my tracking screen, my variance screen. So I'm going to insert column. And I'm going to type D here. And so now I've got the duration column here. All right. So it looks like we're behind schedule and we're looking at, all right, we got site layout, we got site trailer. Maybe at this stage, this isn't too big a deal. We can basically have the layout and the trailer happening at the same time. So I'm just going to look at this. I'm going to double click here and I'm going to put -2 days. So all I did was right on that link line there, I clicked on it and I put -2 days, and now we're back on track. Now we're back on track. I would make a note. I would make sure I understand what's going on. I would make sure it works. I've talked about this in previous videos, and again, there's links to the other videos about the direct method or the anatomy of a recovery. And basically, I'm making sure this works. I'm experimenting here. I'm talking to the trades. And so now we're back on track. So I'm going to click Save. And so that's great. Now we've done our recovery. So you know what? That recovery file becomes our new plan for the coming month. These are the dates, especially once we fold this in, then these are what we're following. So then I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go Update. But I'm going to change this to number 2. I'm going to change this to update. And I'm going to change this to, I've got another date here. So we're going to move ahead a month, April 3rd. Okay, so I've got this. So all I changed was the first one, because now you see how they're lining up, 0, 0, 0. So we've got our recovery, we've got our update. Really our update comes before, but that's fine. We know that that's in that zone there, right? So the ones are lining us up, and I'm going to click here and I'm going to click Save, all right? All right, so now I put in April 3rd. I got to change my status date here. So I'm just going to go to Project and Project Information. I'm going to change the status date to, what did I say, April 3rd. So I'm going to go to April 3rd, 2025, month ahead, 4 weeks ahead. Click OK. And that moves my status date line from there to there. So that's what I've just done. And now what I want to do is I want to update from the previous. So I'm going to go with format just so you can see the lines here. I'm going to put a line here and I'm going to say, from my previous, let's just put that in here, update. which was to basically the March 3rd, or sorry, let's see, March 6th. March 6th, we'll keep it right here. And we're going to update in this window here. Like obviously we don't have anything to update that's back here. We only have to now update between here and here. What's changed? What's changed, right? So what we have to do is figure out what's changed in that period. I usually do my updates in the regular Gantt chart view, right? So I usually do my updates in the regular Gantt chart view. And again, we're just updating this part looking back from there to there. You can see where the previous update is by the solid line through. This is still showing critical here. The status date has moved back. I'll put another line in just so you see it clear, right? So we're basically updating in that zone here. I'm a little bit off with my line here, but just so that we're absolutely clear on that, right? So this is what we're updating, this zone, what's happened in the last month. We can't go back here, it's done. These parts back here are already happened, right? So it's just between these two lines. So that's an update. So what has changed? All right, well, even though we had that nice little recovery over here that we moved that back and forth, maybe we had some other issue, say with the excavate of foundation. Say maybe they started to excavate and something came up. And so I'm going to zoom in maybe a little here. I'll mess with my lines a little bit, but that's okay. So we've got this excavation sub. They started to work, and I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to go into where we've got our task written here. And I'm going to go where it says split task. And I'm just going to say, all right, they on the Monday found something in the excavation and kind of delayed things a little bit. So I'm just going to move this a little bit here and split it out. All right, so I just split that out. And what kind of variance is that causing for us? Well, we had zero variance because we fixed it before, if you remember, when we did our recovery. Now we've got not a big variance, right? Must have crossed a weekend. That's why it looks so long here. But a one-day variance, all right? And so they came across something and they found that that was an issue. Okay, but everything else kind of went the way it should have went, except for that. So you know what? I'm going to select everything. And now that everything else is okay, this is the oddball one. Guess what? I'm going to do mark on track. And it marks everything on track up to that status date. Sometimes you'll find Microsoft Project gets a little funny there. And I bet you this, if I go look at it, it's going to say 99%. So if I actually go to my tracking view, probably says 99. Yeah, it does that. I don't know why, but I think the newer version online doesn't. So it's now 100%. If you ever see that, you can just adjust that. Okay, so you can see that that is done up to that point. And if I go to my variance screen, everything now is marked up track to the left of the status date. To the left of the status date. I'd want to know what happened here. We were excavating and it looked like it was a gas line. And so we stopped. We got the gas company. They said it was a dead line, nothing to worry about. And so, but that delayed us a little bit. That would be my update complete. So I would save that. But I do have a variance, right? And if I want to fix that, it's a very minor variance. If I want to fix that, I would go in and now, guess what? I would go File, Save As. And I'm going to go back to my same folder. And you know what I'm going to do, right? I'm just going to change this, Recovery. Same date, April 3rd. See how they're lining up? 0012. Save. Recovery. All right, pretty straightforward to, in this case, maybe to do this recovery. Usually I like to do the recovery in the tracking Gantt. Slide to the left, right click, tracking Gantt. And then I like to look at my various durations. What's possible? What can I do? Maybe even the excavation sub can fix this because they basically think that they can finish it sooner. They're either going to work a couple of long days to get it done. Maybe not. Maybe lay down fill area on drawing, compact fill area, base inspection. Oh, okay. No, we can't do that before there. So there you're looking along, where could I fix this? And you always want to try to fix this sooner rather than later. So let's stick with the lay down fill area as indicated. Basically the excavation sub's going to bring an extra front end loader. That's going to make, it's kind of a fairly large site, this particular example, large parking lot being a township administrative building. So basically they're going to come in a day early with this over here. We'll do another leg here. We're back on track. All right, this should show now, if I go to finish variance, not start variance, but finish variance, I should see that we're back on track. I can tell that they align, we're back on track. So that is my recovery. And what I should say is with the recovery, right, what was I doing? This arrow would not have been this way, it would have been this way. I was only looking forward. A recovery only looks forward. It's not looking into the past. That's what the update is for. That's why we have a separate update file. This is what happened, right? This is where we are. And we're trying to figure out, how do we get that time back? And now the recovery is, that's the expertise of the site super. That's the expertise site super project manager, the team working together with the trades to figure out what's the best way to get that time back. And so that is what the recovery is. And knowing what's going on in your project, and of course short-term look-aheads really help with this aspect of it. But as things are happening, there's the short-term view and there's the long-term view. This recovery, right? This recovery that we've saved, this is what we're following for the next month. This is the file we're following for the next month. If we're up doing a formal update monthly, if we're doing it weekly for our own purposes, this is what we're following, right? So again, I would, at this point, this is the recovery. Let's assume that another month has gone by, right? Another month has gone by. What are we going to do? Think about it. What are we going to do? This is the recovery. What's the next thing? A month has gone by. What do we want to know? We want to know where we're at, right? So I'm just going to go here. We've got this saved, and I'm going to put in the next status date. And in this case, the next status date that I want to put in is going to be in, let's go, that's, what would I get there? April 24th is what I had. Going ahead, 1, 2, basically 1, 2, maybe I only went ahead 3 weeks. Okay, so we'll go to the 24th. Actually, let's go to the May 1st. May 1st, that'll be 4 weeks. Okay, so May 1st, I'm going to click OK. All right, May 1st, moves the status date, right? I'm going to go File, Save As, right? Same folder. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to change this. Number 3. I'm going to change this. Update, right? Update. And I'm going to change this. And I'm going to say May 1st. 3, and you can see, you guess where the 3 is going to lie. It's going to come down here. I'm going to click Save, right? And so then, of course, this changes, right? This turns around. And then we're updating from this date back to here. We're changing from that date back to there. I'll move my line if that helps you visualize it, right? So now we're going to be updating on what happened between here and here. This process continues and goes on and on. You won't need a recovery if things went exactly the way you planned, right? So, if everything went exactly as we planned here, you could just update everything and say that's it. But if there's something that changed and then you need to do a recovery, then you just do the recovery naming. So I'm hoping that this step-by-step process, you're seeing that we would have a good understanding of what the process, what's happened in each time space. And it's well documented, and that's called the contemporaneous schedule, the as-built schedule. You're writing the story of how this project was built. You could always go back to any time period and look at it and analyze it if you needed to. But more importantly, you can see what's going on and you can make adjustments as you go. And a difference between an update and a recovery. An update is saying where you are as of the status date. A recovery is, okay, we did the update, we're 5 days behind. What are we going to do about it? A recovery is looking forward. So I hope that helps you with this process. It's a little bit of a long video, I know, but it takes some time, unfortunately, to get that full message. So hopefully, if you enjoyed this video, please click like, please leave a comment, and subscribe, help grow the channel. And if you're one of the current students that I recommended watching it, I hope it helped. All right, so, and if I was a little off today, I'm just recovering from COVID, so it's just trying to keep my head straight and focused. I'm Tom Stephenson, wishing everyone the best, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.